Hey guys, welcome back to the Whole Up Project. Today we have a very short amount of time and we're going to try to take care of something that has been bothering me for a bit. We're going to address the lifters. Yeah, thrilled. Setting the lash. We're going to go through that. I've got a couple that don't seem like they're super happy. So we're going to take the valve covers off of this thing, check our lash, and adjust the preload. And I'll walk you through kind of how I do it. This is a full roller motor. It's got the Scorpion 1.5s roller rockers on it, hydraulic roller camshaft in it. And I also need to address the carb. Put a different power valve in it last week, and I don't like how it's acting. So I don't know. I didn't replace the seal around the back side of it, the gasket. So I'm going to check that, see if it has a tear, replace it, and go from there. So we're going to see if we can nail this real quick. We've got sick week, sick summer. They're all the same. They sound the same. We've got sick summer coming through town any minute here. It's 11 o'clock. I thought somebody just pulled in the driveway. It's 11 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. They are up in Earlville racing right now, and they'll be coming through town here probably starting in an hour or two, if some of them aren't already on the way here. So we're going to see if we can hammer this out quick. Well, we've got a couple minutes. And then we're going to go down and record some of the cars coming through town here. So, all right, we're going to start with the carb. And we're going to pull this front off here. You can generally do this pretty quick. If you've never had one of these Hollies apart, they're quite a bit different than the Edelbrokes. But they're all the same, if that makes any sense. They just are different in their own little ways. So normally I'll pull one of these bottom bolts out here and let the fuel drain into this pig mat here. Catch as much of that as I can. Each one of these has a gasket behind it, so pay attention and don't lose those. And if the gasket stays on your bolt, make sure that you put that bolt back where the gasket's missing, or you're going to have no gasket on one bolt and two gaskets on one of the other ones. So pull your front cover off of there. See the gasket stuck to that one. No, it didn't. Okay, pull that off. Your power valve's behind this metering block here. Sometimes you gotta give it a little love. Get out the old soft tip hammer. Give it a couple whacks. All right. Check your gaskets. Make sure nothing's got tore. Here's your power valve. We put a 3.5 in it, and I'll kind of explain how these work. So when you tune your carb, best way to do it, how I do it, is with a vacuum gauge. You're looking for the maximum amount of vacuum that you can get while turning in your idle or fuel adjustment screws, idle air screws here. Once you get that, you take that number that you have, just say your particular engine makes 12 inches of mercury vacuum, you would want a 6.0 power valve. So you take your vacuum, divide it by 2, and that's what you're after here. So this engine makes about 7 inches of mercury vacuum, so we have a 3.5 in it. Your vacuum from your engine will hold this valve closed. When you accelerate and you need more fuel and your vacuum of your engine drops as you're accelerating, once it drops below 3.5, so you're down to 3 inches of mercury vacuum as you're accelerating, this will open because your engine's not holding it closed with vacuum. When that opens, it adds more fuel into the carb. That's basically the principle of it. So I'm getting overloaded right now at idle. So I don't know if this vacuum or this gasket behind this is tore or what the problem is. I may need to change out jets too, but we're going to start with a new gasket. Just take your croissant wrench here. Take your power valve out. That doesn't look bad, but we're just going to replace it anyway. So let me grab a new gasket and I'll be right back. All right, brand new gasket. When you put this together, if you can see that little lip right there, you want to make sure that your gasket does not move. Stays to the outside of that. Okay, snug this back down. You don't have to bench press it. Other gaskets look good. That gasket looks good. So if you follow the circuitry, you can see right here, and this vacuum port, which is what I have my vacuum advanced set up to, directly connects into this cavity where the power valve sits. This is manifold vacuum. So that's getting full manifold vacuum all the time. That's where we're going to start with the power valve. And make sure your adjustment here is correct. And you should be all right. So we're going to try that. If that doesn't fix our issue, then we'll visit the jetting. And so yeah. So now we're going to pull the valve covers off and check the lash, valve lash, and all that stuff. So, and of course, in order to do that, I have to get the AC compressor out of the way, which is no big deal. This side I don't have to do much of anything. I can just unbolt it and pull it off. So we'll get to that. I stand corrected. I got the 1.7s. So anyway, here's my roller rockers, freshly redone heads, and I do have thick wall Howard's push rods. So get this light set somewhere that is somewhat decent. That one might be a little loose. Anyway, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and go through these. Once I get this all tore down, I will get back with you and we'll start going through the process. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We've got a ratchet down there on the crank. Nothing seems too loose up here. I kind of rolled it over a little bit, but that doesn't mean that there couldn't be stuff too tight. The last time I did this, I used a different method. I've done it a couple times in a couple different ways, and I'm not really happy with the last way I did it. So basically what we're gonna do is go through and loosen all these up. And just redo it. And the way we're going to do it, I'll explain here in just a minute. It's the easiest way that I know how to do it. And it's the fastest way, in my opinion. And you can't really screw it up because you can't get lost and forget where you're at. And normally I loosen my lockdowns first before I loosen these, but we're doing it different. All right, so let me get these all set up and ready to go here. Basically just loosen your jam nut. The last way I did this was, I believe they call it the exhaust open, intake closed method, EOIC. And you have to watch your valves and catch them on the correct part of the lobe of the cam before you make your adjustments. All right, so what we're gonna do, now that we've got all these loosened up, is we're gonna start right where we're at. And all you're gonna do is turn these guys down until there's basically no tension, just touching. So you're gonna do that all the way on every one of these. And then you're gonna crank the engine over a quarter of a turn. And you're gonna go through and do the same thing again. And you're gonna go another quarter of a turn. And you're gonna go through and do the same thing again. So as you're going, you're just taking the lash out each time. And once you go 2 full revolutions, they should all be set to 0 lash. And it might sound crazy, but this works. And it works very well. Because essentially once you've gone 2 full revolutions, the cam's been in all the positions that it could have been in. So they're all going to be set to where they all have 0 lash. You can go 5, 6, 8, 10, 15 revolutions if you want to, and just keep going through them and checking them, make sure there's no play. So there's going to be very little, you know, right now they're all at 0. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then once I do that, I'll show you the preload, and I'll kind of explain this as I go. But I'm not going to record the whole thing. I mean, you get the idea. So you take your ratchet down here, crank the engine over 1/4 of a turn, and then go back through them. Just take what little bit is there out. See, just that little tiny bit of a turn. Obviously the valve's in a different position. So once you do this, everybody should be in 0 lash. So I'm going to set you guys up, go through this, and we'll go from there. Then we'll go to the preload. I should add with this, if you crank this 1/4 turn and you go up and you start checking these, if you can't turn them and they're tight, just leave them. You know, you'll only have a couple each time you crank this a 1/4 turn. So just go through, check them all. If you can't move them, you know, just very lightly, you know, don't crank on it, just until it seats, and that's it. So you'll only have a couple each time that you crank this 1/4 turn. So once you've been through them, you know, until your little heart desires, none of them should have any threads left in it. You shouldn't be able to thread any of these down at all. Every time you crank it, nothing needs to be tightened. Everything should be good to go. So once you've got that done, basically all you're gonna do is take your wrench, and some guys do different preload. I normally do about a 1/2 turn. So a 1/2 turn from where that's at. Just a tickle more. Okay, 1/2 turn. Run down your lock, lock it in. Put your ratchet on, put that in there. Obviously I can't back hold because I don't have 2 hands, but you'd hold this, tighten your jam nut, and you're good. Same thing here. Look at your wrench. Go a little bit past half since I was stopped. Tighten down your center, lock it in. You're gonna do that for all of them, and that's all there is to it. You should be done. All your preloads should be set the same. All your lash should be at 0. All right, well, there's your valve lash. Got all those preloaded down half turn. The nuts all torqued down, lock nuts. And we'll go ahead and throw these valve covers back on. And there's not a lot to it. It's pretty easy once you once you try that method. I mean, rather than watching valves and making sure that your valves are set where they need to be on the cam lobe to adjust your lifter, I mean, doing it that way is kind of a pain. So this is the fastest, easiest way that I've found to do it that works. You can get a phone call during the middle of it. You can go have dinner with the old lady, you know, whatever you need to do, and come back to it. And it's not like you've lost your spot. Just keep rotating her over quarter turn at a time and go back, go back through them, see which ones still need adjusted. So we'll get the valve covers back on here quick, and then we're gonna get out of here and we're gonna go check out 6 Summer. Hopefully the cars are gonna be rolling through here pretty soon. All right, there she is, all done. Everything's buttoned back up, ready to rock and or roll. We did take it for a quick drive after all the cars from 6 Summer came through, and it is much improved. Valve lash turned out great. The power valve gasket worked out pretty good too. And yeah, it ran good. The only thing I need to do, it's got a slight hesitation from right from off throttle, or right from a stop, getting on the throttle. So I think I'm gonna do a quick jet change on the primaries and take them up a couple, probably 2, and then try her again. That's just kind of how these carbs are. Testing and tuning all the time. Different weather changes and all that. Gotta adjust for that kind of stuff. So anyway, appreciate everybody watching. Like, share, subscribe. Liking videos definitely helps the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. So we will see you in the next one.